Welcome inside the Sprint Center on a Wednesday night for college hoops alongside Fran Fraschilla. I'm Rich Hollenberg. And Fran, Kansas historically under Bill Self, awesome defensively. This year, right now, at this point, one of the premier offensive teams in the nation as well.
Continuing a trend that we saw last season with a four-guard offense playing around Azubuike, who's been a load inside, but the numbers are indicative of a fast tempo. 92 points a game. They're shooting the two well. They're knocking down the three ball well. And obviously the scoring margin is a little outrageous early in the year.
They're third in the nation with 20 assists a game as well. And they start 5 players who are all averaging at least 11.9 points a game. They're the only team in the country.
Tremendous balance, and those 4 guards we talked about. The one that's been spectacular, Devontae Graham, 35 points in each of his last 2 games. Svi Mykhailiuk having the best season of his career.
We'll have a lot more on Graham coming up later in this telecast. As for the Washington Huskies, they're 6-2 in Mike Hopkins' first season as head coach. They've kept a lot of their local talent on the team. Jalen Noel, a real good freshman to watch.
Well, you named them. They've been a lot of really good Seattle, Tacoma area kids. Play at the University of Washington. Noel, the next one.
And there's Mike Hopkins' first season as a head coach after spending 22 years as a Syracuse assistant. You'll see the Jim Boeheim trademark 2-3 zone, and we'll see it a lot in this game. It's just going to be a question of how can that zone defend one of the best offenses in basketball that we just alluded to. Your officials, Jerry Pollard, Mike Roberts, and Marquise Pettigrew. It's considered a home game, even though we're not in Lawrence, Kansas, and there is a great crowd on hand here at the Sprint Center for Washington's first true road game of the year. Kansas will be wearing their home white uniforms. It's the black with purple and gold accented road unis for the Huskies. Fran, how much of an advantage is this for KU having faced Syracuse just this past Saturday?
Well, it's a huge advantage because, first of all, they always move the ball well against any zone, but to be able to go back-to-back versus the 2-3 zone certainly gives them a little bit more familiarity with what they'll see from Washington tonight.
Devontae Graham putting up monster numbers, including 5th in the nation in assists per game. He's number 4 in white, and he controls the opening tip.
Now, the over-under for me on Kansas lob dunks is 6 in this game.
And there's the first one right off the bat.
Mike Hopkins last night told his team we're not going to give up dunks, but easier said than done with the way Kansas attacks the zone.
I think his quote to his players was, "It's not going to be a dunk party." Easier said than done, as you said.
One of the things they do so well, Kansas, is get the ball to the middle of the zone to a playmaker. Now you take Legero Vic, watch him just lob it up. Timmons has got to be aware. Timmons has got to let Vic be an offensive threat and take away the big guy, but watch what happens when they do that.
Vic tried to throw it up to the rim. No one there to grab the rebound, and here comes Washington. Gerald Vic, I guess you can consider him an undersized 4 in this zone offense.
In the offense, and yet he's such a good outside shooter.
First shot of the game for the freshman Noel off the mark, and Azubuike clears. Here's Svi Mykhailiuk.
3 things against the zone. Beat it down the floor by running, get the ball to the middle, and then watch, we call it hot potato. Don't want to hold on to it, but get the defense shifted. Good defense by the Huskies.
Yeah, first steal of the game for UW. They're first in the Pac-12 with 9 steals a game. And Mike Hopkins does have some pieces, namely number 4 in black. Matisse Thybulle is the prototypical zone defender. Here's the cross pass, and there's Thybulle for 3.
Good ball movement that time by the Huskies, and key thing for Mike Hopkins' team early is get comfortable and stay in this game as long as possible.
They leave Vic alone, and Legero Vic gets his first 2 of the game.
And that's the dilemma. Mike Hopkins said, look, we're going to give up something in the middle, but we don't want to get dunked on. Vic is too talented to not guard him.
David Crisp off the mark. Sam Timmons from New Zealand grabs home the rebound and dunks it back.
And that's a young man that has continued to improve in his second season. He was a red shirt. Played last year, started 18 games.
Vic already getting a ton of touches in the middle of that zone offense, and now he has back-to-back buckets.
You see, Micah Hopkins is going to have to adjust because they want to take away the lob, but they can't let Gerald Vic just operate in that painted area, especially that deep.
Noel has the neon green light for Mike Hopkins on offense. He's missed his first 2 shots. Here's Graham's first shot of the game. Off the mark, and Dickerson clears. There's Dickerson, got the bump. And a foul's going to be called on Kansas. Well, how exactly do you beat a 2-3 zone, Fred?
Well, first thing you want to do is you want to run and try to get baskets before the defense sets up. Against the 2-3, you always want to play through the middle and behind the zone. And then we call it hot potato, and so does Bill Self. Keep the ball moving.
Bible for 3, not this time. Azubuike grabs it for Kansas. There's Mikhailuk. And that's something that he's really added to his game later in his career.
He really has. He's the only Kansas Jayhawk who's been in double figures in every game. He's shooting it at a high rate. To your point, he's certainly been able to put the ball on the floor better than ever.
Averaging 17.1 points a game. That's second on this Jayhawks team. An early 8-5 Kansas lead, ranked second in the country, one of just 11 undefeated teams remaining, and we're only in the first week of December. It's been a fun start to this college basketball season.
Amazing, absolutely. Champions Classic, PK 80. The amount of good teams around the country right now. A lot of good basketball.
5 on the shot clock. They switch on Noel. They get it inside. Dickerson, and it's blocked. Here's Malik Newman. They'd love for him to get on track offensively, and that's one way to do it.
Now, one thing when you play zone, you want to take away driving opportunities, and right now, Kansas, we said it would be a shooting gallery. They're getting any high percentage shot they want right now.
6-0 Kansas run has them up 5. Here's Timmons working on Azubuike. And a foul call that's going to be reaching over the back on Udoka Azubuike. And with 15:52, we have our first timeout on the floor with undefeated Kansas up 5 early.
For 100 years, heritage and innovation have made Gillette the #1 shave in America. Now get Gillette quality at lower.
Exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball, and Audi.
Alongside Fran Fraschilla, I'm Rich Hollenberg. We're inside the Sprint Center in Kansas City, Missouri. You might have seen that t-shirt. It certainly does feel like Fieldhouse East here, almost a capacity crowd on hand. This is the 44th game that the Kansas Jayhawks have played in the Sprint Center. They're 35-8, looking to make it 36 and improve to 8-0 on the year. They're ranked second in the country right now, coming in currently with a 10-5 lead on the Washington Huskies, 15:52 to go.
Although don't forget the heartbreaking loss to Oregon last year in this building in the Midwest Regional Final.
That's going to be the first foul on Malik Newman. And they reset the shot clock to 20 for UW.
So far early in the season, 7 Kansas wins. The bench has been shallow, but it really has not been a big problem just yet. They'll get Sam Cunliffe, the transfer from Arizona State, back in 2 games. Add an 8th player.
Mitch Lightfoot checks in and immediately draws a charge.
Yeah, Mitch Lightfoot, who did not get off the bench very much last year, now is playing double-figure minutes, and that's all he's in there to do. Just hustle plays, offensive rebound, get to the glass, take some charges, keep the ball moving. Young man out of Gilbert, Arizona, whose family is from the Kansas City area. He was a top 100 player. Always watch the middle of the zone and keep your eye on Lightfoot behind.
There's Vic. Tried to dump it down to Lightfoot. This time, the Huskies get a hand on it. Here's Noel. too strong off the backboard. It goes out of bounds, and Jerry Pollard says it's Kansas basketball.
Yeah, slow start for the freshman from Garfield High School, Jalen Noel, who's off to a terrific start to his career, 18 points a game. And just keep your eye now. Watch the black shirts. They spread out. They take away the three-point line, but they leave the middle open.
For Kai Luke, high percentage three off the mark. Thibault clears. Washington needs a bucket. They're only 2 for 10 from the field. And they get it inside. High percentage shot for Noah Dickerson.
Good penetration by the junior David Crisp. And again, you'll see, Rich, they'll extend on those shooters, but they're going to allow the ball to go into the middle.
Newman almost turned it over. Gets it to Lightfoot underneath. And that's a power move by Mitch Lightfoot, something that Bill Self implored him to do as a freshman.
Exactly. And one of the things you got to do if you're the Washington back line is don't be afraid to be a head turner. Know who's behind you and can't let Lightfoot or Azubuike get that ball on the baseline.
Here's Noel from the wing. Got it. And despite some poor shooting early on, Washington hanging around in the opening moments.
Another nice dish by David Crisp. Good penetration. Kick out.
Newman, they try to go inside out. And it's out of bounds. It's going to stay Kansas basketball.
We'll take a look. Watch. Nice dump off by Newman. You see Lightfoot sneaks along the baseline. And then watch the drive here by David Crisp. Good kick out. Noel, not a great outside shooter. Only 26%, but he is a scorer.
Speaking of scorers, Fran, how about the fact that Devontae Graham, who has back-to-back 35-point nights, has only taken 1 shot so far tonight, no points.
Well, and I think that's part of the game plan. What you've seen so far from Washington is they are challenging the three-point line, and they're giving Lagerald Vick all that room in the middle.
That foul's going to go on Lightfoot, his first, and there's Devontae Graham, the National Player of the Week, as well as you can imagine the Big 12 Player of the Week. And in an interesting twist, we have 2 starting point guards who both spent a prep year at Brewster Academy in New Hampshire.
It seems like every time we do a game, there's somebody from Brewster Academy. David Crisp played on the same Brewster team as a young guy named Donovan Mitchell, who right now is lighting it up in the NBA for the Utah Jazz.
Graham 0 for 2. Here's his Brewster counterpart. Crisp takes it strong to the hole, and David Crisp will go to the line and shoot 2.
Yeah, this is a young man from Rainier Beach, one of the power programs in the Seattle area. State title, Class 3A. You think of Seattle, you think of the 206, you think of some just outstanding players who've come out of that city. Jamal Crawford, you go back to Doug Christie first, and then Crawford and Nate Robinson, now Isaiah Thomas, who I guess is close to making his Cavs debut here in the next few games. And that's what makes this a great job. You know, Lorenzo Romar had success getting local area kids to stay home, and Mike Hopkins has already made it a point to build that relationship with the basketball community in Seattle.
Inside, a Lightfoot, his second dunk of the game. Nice look from Lagerald Vick.
Last year, Mitch Lightfoot was an innocent bystander during that great Kansas run, but because of the lack of depth on that front line, he's getting an opportunity to really play quality minutes as a sophomore.
Lagerald Vick really thriving in the middle of that zone offense for Bill Self. In the corner, here's Samir Wright, the freshman. Dickerson, offensive rebound and the putback. Nice left hand from Noah Dickerson.
Strong move by the young man who once committed to Florida and Billy Donovan, and when Billy went to the NBA, opened up his recruitment, and he ended up in Seattle with that great recruiting class a couple of years ago. Marquise Chris, DeJounte Murray, and there you see Dickerson again. Well, if you're not going to get the open threes, then you must attack the middle of the zone. And there's another basket by Mitch Lightfoot just lurking on the back line. And the point guard tonight so far for Kansas has been Lagerald Vick. And primarily because the strategy of the Huskies is no open threes. And so the middle of that zone right now is very porous.
Speaking of the middle, Noah Dickerson doing work. 4 points, but 7 rebounds already.
I'd throw it in there because Azubuike's already got 1 foul.
16 fouls already on the Jayhawks. And the three-pointer is good. Second triple of the night for Matisse Thybulle. He has 6. And Washington takes their first lead of the game, 16-14.
Good confidence builder for Mike Hopkins' young team. Watch how they extend those wings on the back line to take away the 3. And who's our playmaker tonight?
There's Lagerald Vick with his 6-point.
Now you say, why won't you take that away? And the simple answer is, you have to give up something that Kansas does well, and they're not going to let them shoot the open 3 because they do it at such a high percentage.
Great start for Vick, 3 for 5 from the field with 2 assists. Nice floater by Noel. He has 5.
I told you this yesterday at the shoot-around, Rich. He looks and reminds me of DeAndre Kane, who played at Iowa State, the former All-American. How about Lagerald Vick right now?
He doesn't know whether to lob it or to just put it on himself.
We talked about a shooting gallery, right? Well, the target is really easy right now because he's shooting 10-footers.
Lagerald Vick coming off a 20-point, 8-rebound, 7-assist game against the 2-3 zone of Syracuse. Thriving again tonight against Washington. But the Huskies are hanging tough. 7 points for, or make that 6 points for Noah Dickerson.
Oh, yeah.
Azubuike with the dunk.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a reason why he's second in the nation in field goal percentage, Fred.
And he keeps this up, he's going to be over 80% shortly because he came in, what, 77?
He's 49 for 63 from the field coming in now. 18-8 in paint points in favor of the Jayhawks. In the corner. Newman skies for the rebound. Very good rebounding team from the guard position for Bill Self's club. Mikhailuk. And the foul on Azubuike. Well, Mike Hopkins, Washington Huskies are hanging tough with 9:41 to go. They are tied at 20, but Devontae Graham is a zone buster. We'll have how to beat a 2-3 zone when we come back.
Enjoy a huge day in sports Saturday on ESPN.
Jayhawks and Huskies tied at 20. Washington comes in with a strategy of no open threes. Kansas 0 for 4 from the three-point line. So what happens? Lagerald Vick wide open in the middle of the zone, taking advantage of it. 4 for 6 so far early in this game. And you have to give up something if you're Mike Hopkins, Washington's coach. And he is giving up that three-point shot. And they're taking away the lob as well. So Lagerald Vick, he's got more room in the middle of the lane than you would if you were on I-35 outside of our beautiful Sprint Center.
Well, Kansas is 0 for 4 from 3, so that's a victory, if you will, for Mike Hopkins and UW. But Kansas on the whole 10 for 16 from the field, courtesy of those Lagerald Vick easy jumpers in the paint.
Now you have to take gambles if you're going to try to stop Kansas, and the gamble has been let this guy just keep scoring points.
Missed that one. And here come the Huskies, a chance to regain the lead.
This 2-3 zone is going to be a very effective weapon for Mike Hopkins over time as he adds more athletes, more length, much like they did for many years at Syracuse.
Wright spins and hits.
Like him.
Amir Wright, who's 5 for 8 from 3 in his last 2, gets the 2-pointer to give Washington the lead.
Yeah, young man from Albany, New York, a couple hours from Syracuse.
That's right. Gatorade New York Player of the Year. And that's a big keep, if you will. Mike Hopkins recruiting that area so well for 2 decades for Syracuse. Able to convince some New Yorkers to travel all the way out to the great Northwest. And now enjoying their success in Seattle.
What a great hire by the University of Washington. This guy you know well. You were at Syracuse at the same time. I coached against him in my Big East days when he played for Jim Boeheim. Just incredible stories. Southern California surfer boy. He had the long blonde hair back then. Been in coaching for a while. You know what happens to you when you're in coaching. You lose your hair or you go gray. Remember, he was the heir apparent the last decade And then the University of Washington scooped him up as their new head coach to replace Lorenzo Romar.
Hopkins does have ties to the Seattle area, even though he's a California kid. His parents, both originally from that area, they vacation there in the off-season a lot. He was convincing his wife, Trish, that was the toughest sell.
Oh, I love this kid.
Call that hanging on the rim?
No, he's got an
foul.
M1. Yeah, Sam Timmons, the young man from New Zealand, who is getting better and better. Started last year in that young Husky team with Markelle Fultz. Take a look. Big fella. I know they're watching back in New Zealand. His dad, Brad, an outstanding rugby star, now a coach and instructor. And in talking to the Washington coaching staff, they said, you think this kid is big? He's 6'11" and what, 250? His dad is even bigger, wider, and thicker than old Sam is.
How about that?
Yeah. Really a legend in that country where they love their rugby. Starting to like basketball too a little bit.
Yeah. In and out from the corner.
You notice the challenge of the shots? Every time they shoot a three, Kansas, there's a defender with length running out. The strategy so far has been pretty good.
A near turnover, but it's saved by Wright. Timmons wants it inside. Going to work against Clay Young. And he draws the foul. 7:48 to go, and the Huskies have an upset on their minds, traveling to Kansas City to take on the undefeated Jayhawks.
Remember when Christmas was magical?
Kevin Connors, LaFonso Ellis, the number 5 team in America. Fonz is in hot water in the swamp.
A team that averages 11 made threes per game, 2 of 14 from 3 at this point. Yikes.
Cameron Krutwig, the lay-in. Loyola Chicago up 5 on Florida. Rich and Frank.
Thank you, Kevin and Fonz. And of course, it's a Wednesday night, so some football players get to chill at the basketball game. Kansas City Chiefs, 1-2-3. There's Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Reggie Ragland. Of course, Pat Mahomes a quarterback, but went to Texas Tech, and that basketball team's pretty solid in the Big 12 this year.
Big 12, 69-11 right now. About 80%, 87% win percentage. Big overtime win for the Red Raiders last night over a really good Nevada team. Hey, how about Florida trailing? They could go down 3rd game in a row. I'm going to see them Saturday against Cincinnati. I watched them against Florida State. They take a lot of tough shots. I know they made them against Duke, but they really struggled and got, I guess Mike White said they were soft. Look at this.
Vicks missed his last 2 shots.
Yeah. Remember, he started 4 for 6 inside the arc. Kansas 0 for 5 behind the arc, and the strategy to take away the 3 ball has worked perfectly for first-year coach Mike Hopkins, who knows a little bit about that 2-3 zone.
Just a little bit.
Oh, nice pass. Wow.
And Timmons finishes.
How about the speed of David Crisp? David Crisp has been really outstanding tonight in terms of dropping dimes.
He has 4 assists.
And look where the zone is. Look how far out those backline players are.
Here's Vic again. And he's 4 for 11 from the field now.
Almost a travel.
Bible inside.
How about Timmons? He's wanting to go to work.
Yeah, they're feeding the post. And they get him for the 3-second violation. Well, Saturday we'll have an afternoon doubleheader of hoops. Number 1 Duke taking on Boston College at noon Eastern. And then it's Indiana and Louisville. Both games are on ESPN and streaming live on the ESPN app. So much turmoil at Louisville, and yet David Padgett getting a lot of credit for keeping the ship sailing in the right direction with those Cardinals.
Well, they've got a good group of players returning that understand how to play.
Mikhailuk's first bucket of the game. From 3, he has 5.
First 3 for Kansas as well.
Make it 1 for 6 from the Jayhawks from beyond the arc. They came in shooting 43.5% from distance. Noel. Offensive rebound, effort. Dickerson, that's his specialty, but he couldn't finish it. Newman Offensive foul.
Malik got himself in trouble. Dickerson was backing up. That's legal play. Malik trying to get coast to coast. Remember we said if you're not attacking the zone in the half court, try to beat it down the court. And that's good defense. He is allowed to be stationary and back up. That's his spot, and Malik Newman just ran the defender over. Good job by Dickerson right there.
You know, Noah Dickerson took dance classes in high school. He moved those puppies pretty well just now to get into position to draw that foul. 9 Kansas fouls with 5:52 to go in the first half.
I think Mike Hopkins really likes the pace of this game. They've done a good job of establishing Dickerson and Timmons inside.
Thibault too strong. Offensive rebound, but a foul on Dom Green in Washington.
I thought Dom Green, I thought he jumped right over Svi Mikhailuk, or it's actually Mikhailuk for my KU friends, but we've been saying everybody's been saying Mikhailuk for so long. Go ahead and tweet me. I'll send you the video. Seriously, it's Mikhailuk.
And that's a Brewster on Brewster foul right there as David Crisp fouls Devontae Graham.
His first personal foul, team number 4 on Washington.
What does Bill Self have to do offensively to get Devontae Graham on track a little bit?
Well, they have to keep moving the ball, and they don't want him taking tough shots.
He tried for the lob, and Washington got a hand on it, and a foul's called.
And Dom Green knocked Svi Mikhailuk down as Graham tried to throw the lob. There's nothing Graham needs to do in terms of forcing shots. It's more the overall offense. You see right here, they try to set up that lob with a back screen by Clay Young, and Dominic Green comes in and crashes into Svi.
It's almost easy to forget after back-to-back 35-point nights that Devontae Graham averages 8 assists a game.
Oh, terrific
Noel
pass.
in transition. He has 7.
Yeah, great look by Thibault, too. Once they came up with the steal, Noel, who knows how to score, was shot out of a cannon.
Coming up on 5 minutes to go. A 3-point Huskies lead. There's Garrett with his first 2. Marcus Garrett, a freshman out of Dallas.
Pretty much doing what Vic did, except that time he took that ball right to the basket. Pretty good strategy by Washington when you think about it. Give up the 3 ball, live and die with the tough 2 and no paint.
That ball goes out of bounds. It'll be Jayhawks basketball, down by 1 with 4:40 to go, and Washington getting frisky.
Oh yeah, watch out, watch this steal right here, and you'll see Jalen Noel come into your screen. He gets shot out of a cannon. He knows how to score, and he's particularly good in transition. That young man, as the jump shot comes around, he's got a great ability to get where he wants with the dribble, and he's certainly really good with that athleticism in the open court. Again, watch how the 3-point line is protected, opening up these drives.
Mikhailuk, no. Thibault the rebound. Kansas heavily favored in this game, coming in second in the nation. They trail by 1, coming up on 4 minutes to go in the first. Here's Noel. And Vic chases it down. Kansas 2 for their last 10 from the field, and they almost lost the ball there. Deep 3, Grant.
How do you get an open 3? Just lose the ball on the floor, scramble up the D. And not what Mike Hopkins wanted, but it kind of came out of a broken play for Kansas.
Took him 16 minutes, but Devontae Graham's in the scoring column. Cripps tried for the answer, no good. Offensive rebound and a fresh 30 for the Huskies. Noel, and 1. Jalen Noel has a chance to get into double-digit scoring.
Watch out, Devontae Graham. The ball's loose on the floor. Gerald Vick loses it, comes up with it, and in the ensuing scrum, somebody's open. Wrong guy. But on the other end, you like this Jalen Noel.
Colgate was down 2. Jack Ferguson hit that shot, but it was after the buzzer. Marist hangs on. Washington's executing its game plan, Fonz.
Controlling the tempo by running Kansas off the 3-point line.
Rich and Fran, back to you in KC.
Thank you, gentlemen. Who knows? Maybe we have the propensity for some kind of a crazy finish here. No one would have guessed it. The heavily favored Kansas Jayhawks in a rock fight right now with Washington trailing by 1.
Struggling against that zone, particularly from behind the arc. And here's another contested three. Kansas with only one made three in the first half. And if anybody knows anything about the 2-3 zone, it's Mike Hopkins. A good, solid game plan for this team in his first year as he tries to redefine the culture.
Spin move, Dickerson.
And Vic reached in.
Great agility for the big man out of Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Montverde Academy, where he won back-to-back national titles with a fellow by the name of Ben Simmons, who you might be familiar with.
Exactly. Noah out of Atlanta, I mentioned earlier, signed with Billy Donovan in Florida and then opened up his recruitment when Billy went off to the NBA. You know, it's interesting, you and I were talking, you did the game, the NIT game, Syracuse, UNC Greensboro, before Mike Hopkins interviewed for the Washington job. He interviewed on a Friday night. I did the Ole Miss at Syracuse NIT game Saturday afternoon. He was very abrupt with me, which is not like Mike. You know, we just had a quick handshake. And then next morning, we wake up and discover that he's the new coach at the University of Washington.
So I called his last win at Syracuse. You called his last game at Syracuse.
Exactly.
Here's Graham. 10 on the shot clock. Vic, he's gone cold, but got fouled by Wright on the three-point attempts.
If you're going to be out there on the wing, the freshman Wright's got to know, do not bail out a player taking a tough shot. This is going to be a contested three, and then you see the follow through. Wright gets Vic on the elbow. Official right there. You know, Mike, you and I both know Mike interviewed at places like Charlotte, Boston College, USC. And he talked about 3 P's: place, people, potential. Seattle, a great area. He loves the people he's working with, and obviously the great potential of a Washington program that historically has had some great basketball teams. Lorenzo Romar did a terrific job. Marv Harshman did a great job. Andy Russo had some good teams.
And it's interesting because Hop was so invested in Syracuse and that region and that culture and that program. He said it was really an eye-opening experience getting out to Seattle and realizing that there are other fan bases that are just as passionate as Syracuse.
Oh, exactly. And you think of the community and the high school basketball in Seattle. It's something that never gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good
There's
basketball.
Steibel,
yep.
One of those young men from the Washington State area, his 3rd three of the night. 9 for Thibault. It's a 36-32 Washington lead.
Let me tell you something. Noah Dickerson is having a terrific first half because he was the guy that made that great inside-out pass cross court. He's getting it done on the boards too, Rich.
Yeah, 8 points, 10 rebounds for Noah Dickerson. Basically playing an undersized 5 for this Washington team. And a traveling violation called on Dickerson.
Watch this look from inside out. Dickerson gets some traffic. Doesn't force it. Recognizes the little double coming. Good kick out weak side, and Thibault knocks it down. He's got this crowd in the Sprint Center pretty quiet.
Here's the freshman Garrett in the middle of the zone offense. Graham. Now he's starting to hunt his shot off to the left. Ball goes out of bounds. And it's Washington basketball.
And that was another challenge shot that Devontae Graham took. He shot fake, got into the two-point range, foul line area, and got it contested.
Well, it should come as no surprise if these Washington Huskies beat all of their competition in 50-50 balls. That's what Mike Hopkins made a career on.
You mean the human hack?
The human hack, the human floor burn.
The guy that once fouled out of a Big East game in 13 minutes when it was six fouls?
Yeah. Right. And a timeout called. Use it or lose it with under a minute to go from Bill Self. We'll take a timeout on the floor. Kansas getting all they can handle from the Huskies out of the Pac-12.
Okay, guys, the bus is down, but we've got a spot. Follow Coach Cal.
It's going to be a dunk party, right? And I can only remember the one dunk. Well, Mitch Lightfoot had a dunk. Yeah. Azubuike had a dunk.
Right, 3 dunks in all, but those came in the first 10 minutes of the half.
Exactly. Keep your eye on Clay Young, because he would be a really good screener here.
Here's Graham. Blocked from behind. And now the play breaks down, and Graham's going to have to reset. 10 on the shot clock for the Jayhawks.
Got to get it to the middle.
Shovel pass is good, and Clay Young has 2.
How about Clay Young? The walk-on is getting key minutes this season. And again, they took away the three-point line, so where do they go? Vic in the middle, and a young man from Lansing, Kansas, who's played 7 or more minutes 3 times already this season with the layup inside.
And Fran, Washington playing about as well as you can imagine. They came into tonight averaging 14+ turnovers per game. Tonight, only 4 against a very good Jayhawks defense.
And conversely, Kansas, who averages about 92 points a game, only 34 versus that zone.
Washington up to 36-34 on second-ranked Kansas. The Jayhawks, one of just 11 teams left undefeated in Division I basketball at 7-0 and getting all they can handle and trying to make it 8-0.
It's not a final yet, but the Ramblers of Loyola are up 4 with under 10 seconds in Gainesville, which would be the third straight loss for Mike White's Florida Gators, who got off to such a great start to start the year.
And had that Duke game in hand.
And they'll see Cincinnati in Newark on Saturday.
Shot clock and game clock virtually identical. 15 seconds to go in the half. Washington going to get 1 shot before the buzzer sounds. Here's Noel. And he turns it over. Graham from half court. He can make that. And it's just off the mark. Well, Kansas has had huge leads in every one of their games so far this season, and they trail for the first time at the half. It's 36-34, Washington with the lead. Now, we send it back to the studio.
All right, Rich, Washington at the half, a 2-point lead. We've got a night filled with buzzer beaters, beginning with Georgia Tech and Wofford. Time winding down. Fletcher, McGee, LaFonso Ellis is going to hit the 3 to beat the buzzer.
No, he didn't. You see how deep that was?
Woo! Wofford. Fletch, 6'1", 6'4" with the hair. How about Hofstra and Monmouth? Hofstra down 2, 5 seconds to go. Justin Wright, Foreman Fonz.
Inside out, 3 wide open. He drills it from the right wing.
Hofstra, Strong Island in the house. They win at 84-82. And Fran talked about it. Loyola Chicago going into the swamp to take on Florida. How about Andre Jackson? How about that stroke?
I tell you, it looked good. They did a great job of coming off ball screens and exchanging and pulling up, as you see here.
Jackson does it again. Loyola Chicago extending the lead. The Ramblers smelling upset, but Kavarius Hayes on that back line.
What a nice job defending the rim, something that they've not done consistently over the last 2 games.
Beating the first half buzzer is Marcus Towns. The Ramblers led by 3 at the half. We're thinking this is the number 5 team in America. They can't go down to Loyola of Chicago, but Dante Ingram and company would not go away. And then Jackson all the way to extend the lead to 6. Gators down 4, 8.5 to go. Jalen Hudson, no. What a win for Porter Moser. And Loyola of Chicago, they are now 9-1 on the season as we welcome you into the Land Rover halftime report. Kevin Connors, LaFonso.
Back inside the Sprint Center in Kansas City, Missouri, where the number 2 Jayhawks trail for the first time this season at the start of the second half. Washington up by 2, 36-34. Rich Hollenberg, Fran Fraschilla. And how come Kansas is struggling so much from beyond the arc?
They're being challenged at every turn. Contested shots is a key to field goal defense being good. And so far tonight, Kansas 2 for 9 behind the arc. And even when they get inside the arc, the Huskies have done a really good job. And on the other end, how about the junior Noah Dickerson, who is essentially dominated this game with Azubuike and Lightfoot in foul trouble. The big fella from Montverde Academy has gone to work, and he's closing in on a double-double already, Rich.
8 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists for Dickerson to lead the way. And here's a look at some key first-half stats. Obviously, both teams with 14 field goals, but as you said, the key is Kansas, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, only 2 from beyond the arc in the first half.
Exactly. We'll get into it on the Kansas offensive end and show you. A very poised first 20 minutes by the Huskies.
Crisp comes out firing, and his first field goal of the game is a three-pointer.
And remember, he's been a terrific floor general tonight. And let's see the adjustment that Bill Self may have made at halftime, because Lagerald Vick was getting the ball right there the whole night, and that's what he's got to do. He got the yips a little bit at the end of the first half. That's too easy.
Back-to-back threes for UW.
Now remember, Kansas, 16 fast break points a game so far this year, 0 tonight, and only 2 threes. Look at this.
There's another easy 2 so far in the second half. Washington content to trade baskets if they're making threes and the Jayhawks are making 2s. Good hands by Graham.
Yeah.
Here's Newman. Pinned against the board by Thibault.
What a defensive play by Matisse Thibault. He just waited for Newman to elevate, and quite frankly, Newman didn't really even elevate. No fast break points tonight for Kansas.
Crisp. Left-handed jumper in and out of bounds. It's going to be Kansas basketball. Well, David Crisp, Fran, has transitioned very nicely into the point guard spot, coming off a season where he played more off guard last year.
Exactly. He was the caddy, if you will, for Markelle Fultz, who had a terrific freshman year, the #1 pick in the NBA draft. And Crisp, who, as we mentioned, spent a year prepping 3,000 miles away from Tacoma. Well, they tried to run that lob, and Thibault's just not going to let them make that easy pass. There's another challenge shot, Rich.
Isn't it Mark Jackson who always says hand down, man down?
Yeah.
He would love this defense.
Well, they've got length, and they're guarding the three-point line, which is why Vick's been open inside. Calculated gamble. Nice.
And there's a lob. Taking some of your own medicine.
And remember, with Azubuike and his 2 fouls, he doesn't want to pick up a third one.
8 for Timmons. The lead is 6 for the Huskies.
Watch the black shirts guard the three-point line.
Left hand from Vick. He has 18.
Vick could get 40 tonight if he would just be efficient in the paint, unless Mike Hopkins makes that adjustment. But he's not going to give up the 3-ball.
We'll try to get it inside to Dickerson, out of bounds. It's going to be Kansas basketball. 7th turnover for the Huskies.
Well, watch this terrific catch by the sophomore Sam Timmons. Great find, no pressure on the ball, and Timmons gets behind Azubuike.
Good hands by the big man.
Well, they tried to force it in there instead of going to the bread and butter. Vick in the mid-post, trying to get Azubuike going, but a sloppy play. Oh, nice.
Thibault.
Nice! Oh!
A clear path to the basket, and Matisse Thibault has 14.
Well, listen, you're talking about a Kansas team that's in foul trouble, and with the lack of depth, they want to stay on the floor, and that's how the opening parted. And see, that's what Vick ought to do. He ought to try to get 40 tonight, because they're going to give him that shot. And instead of babying the ball up there, which he did in the first half, he's got to go to the rim.
Vick has 20. Kansas trails by 4. Crisp, aggressive again. David Crisp has 2 buckets in the second half, 6 for the game.
Kansas defense right now very, very soft.
Vick got fouled.
I think if you're Lagerald Vick, you got to keep attacking. I thought early in this game that once he established that he could score in there, he started to almost doubt himself and baby the ball up there. But they're giving him these plays. Take it to him.
Good challenge that time by Timmons.
Double pick and roll here. They're going to go inside and post.
And again, Dickerson's got a mismatch, friend.
Yep, they didn't see it. Kansas collapsed.
Nice take again, and an aggressive offense coming out in the second half by Mike Hopkins and his Washington Huskies.
Well, there's no interior resistance right now from Kansas, in part because Azubuike afraid to pick up that third foul.
Mikhailuk off the bounce. No. Timmons gathers it up.
Kansas is spooked right now because they're not getting what they normally get, which is great ball movement and wide open threes. This is a team that shoots 44% behind the arc, but it's been taken away tonight by the strategy of Mike Hopkins in that zone defense.
Huskies have won the first 5 minutes of this second half, 6 for 7 from the field. Crisp. And they're going to get a foul on Thibault on the weak side. We have a timeout on the floor. Washington has its largest lead of the game.
All I know is this: Matisse with a masterpiece.
Hoops, #1 Duke taking on Boston College at noon Eastern, then Indiana and Louisville, both games on ESPN, streaming live on the ESPN app. Rich Hollenberg, Fran Fraschilla, the rest of the ESPN crew in Kansas City, where the #2 team in the land is on the ropes, down 8 with 14:40 to go against the Pac-12's Washington Huskies. How have the Huskies done it, Fran?
Well, they've just completely taken away the three-point line from Kansas, and Kansas 2 for 10 behind the arc, shooting about 55% inside the arc, but combination of really efficient offense by Washington to go along with a good game plan defensively.
Huskies shooting 50% from the field, 43% from beyond the arc. Dickerson missed at close range on that one. And you hear the Jayhawk faithful at full throat.
And watch those black shirts smother the three-point line, so Kansas is forced to go inside. And that's your guy right there, but Vic's got to continue to look to shoot that.
Graham off the mark with the mid-range game. Devontae Graham only 3 points this evening, coming off back-to-back 35-point efforts.
Mike Hopkins told his team last night, as we witnessed, we're going to give up the middle of the zone. They're going to have to make a lot of shots there. We're not giving up dunks, and we're not giving up three-point shots. And to this point, the strategy has been outstanding. Watch inside. Vic.
Kick ball. And if there's one player on this Huskies team who epitomizes what he wants, Mike Hopkins, from the 2-3 zone, it's Matisse Thybulle. Long, athletic at the top of that zone, and he's created havoc all night long. Over and back, it's going to be Washington basketball.
That turnover by LeGerald Vic is because it's exactly what we saw in the first half. He was aggressive early, and then he decided, like, I'm not supposed to shoot all these shots in the paint. And right now, he's got the yips, in my opinion.
And now Bill Self goes back to his starter in the middle, Udoka Azubuike. Noel off the mark from 3, and Azubuike clears. Graham. Here's the lob, and the foul is going to be called on number 11, Naz Carter.
Think about this, Rich. Kansas, 27 minutes in almost, not one fast break basket, and only 2 three-point shots. And those are the two areas with a small, fast, sleek team that they have really thrived on this season. I mean, this is a team averaging 92 points a game.
Came into this contest 6th in the nation in scoring, 3rd in field goal percentage, 3rd in assists. And they have been stymied by a resilient Washington Huskies defense. They picked apart the Syracuse 2-3 zone, but hasn't been the same story facing the Washington Huskies 2-3 zone.
Well, you did that game, and you know how many open looks Devontae Graham got in that game. And by the way, he hit a couple bombs too from NBA range. Look at this. They're even having trouble getting it in their backcourt.
And McKyler has to go 94 feet to save that one.
But watch the black shirts just straight. That's a kick ball. There you go. And listen, I've said this a couple of times now. The open guy against this defense is Gerald Vick. Kansas has to get some stops. They've already given up 50. Vick can go get his points, but Kansas has got to get it done on this end as well.
This is the loudest it's been all night, Fred. Taken away by the Jayhawks team. And here comes McKyler. The lob.
Trying to hit the home run ball, which is understandable because they've struggled all night. And you saw that spectacular lob dunk that Gerald Vick had against Syracuse. Really impressed with Mike Hopkins' group here. They've come into this building and, for the most part, quieted this crowd.
Noel. Yes, the freshman.
Yep.
Playing like a veteran.
That's his playground right there. Mid-paint. Good spin, under control. It's the reason he's averaging 18 a game.
Jalen Noel has 12. The lead is 8 with 12 minutes to go.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, Gerald Vick's going to end up with 40 tonight, but can they stop the Huskies on the defensive end?
That's a new career high for Gerald Vick, who has 24, a chance to make it 25, but Rock Chalk Jayhawk on the ropes in the second half in front of the home crowd in Kansas City. I'm Rich Hollenberg from the Sprint Center, where the Washington Huskies, led by freshman Jalen Noel, looking to pull off the upset, and Noel knows all too well how cancer can take away from a family. Unfortunately, he had to live through his father, Mike, an assistant coach with the Seattle University program, who passed away while he was playing high school basketball, and he's wearing his number 5 in honor of his dad.
And back in 2015, he made the USA under-16 team. It was his dad's final wish that he make that team of some of the best high school players in the country. Only a sophomore then. And he honored his dad with a great effort to make that gold medal winning USA under-16 team. Very interesting foul situation right now.
Transition 3, no good. Azubuike with the offensive rebound and the putback.
Yeah, now Washington's got to be careful, because so far in this half, 7 fouls for the Huskies, 0 for Kansas. Wow, turnabout is fair play, huh? Can't get any argument from Jayhawk fans this half.
Ten on the shot clock. Dickerson tried to split the defenders, and a foul is going to be called. Who's it on? It's going to go on McKyler.
Oh, good job, but let's go back to the other end. Watch Doak with the big rebound right here. Watch him patiently back the defender down. This young man getting better and better around the basket. Of course, the key now is to stay out of foul trouble. He was concerned he might have picked up his 3rd right there.
Noah Dickerson steps to the line, having a whale of a ball game. 13 rebounds already.
Been really impressed with this young man, Noah Dickerson, and the good news is he's only a junior. He's likely to return for his senior year, and one of those building blocks Mike Hopkins has. What a great staff he's got, too. And you look over there, Cameron Dollar, Will Conroy, Jerry Hobby.
It looked like they should have counted that free throw. There was a hand on the rim as the ball was still in the cylinder, and I think, are they going to allow him to reshoot? What's going on?
No, they're going to take it out of bounds.
They're going to take it out of bounds.
Yep.
Noel, no. But he gets a fresh 30.
Good back tap right there, and they gain that possession. Watch the double here for Matisse.
Here's the freshman right, over to Matisse inside. Dickerson. Azubuike hold his ground.
Good job by staying on the ground and not jumping too soon.
Devontae Graham 1 for 6 in this contest.
Watch the lob. They had it.
Vic takes it himself and now has 26.
I think right now Gerald Vick needs to play 2-on-2 inside with Azubuike because they're going to step up and guard him soon.
You knew Kansas had a run in them. They're down by 3, 10 minutes to go. And we're going the other way.
That's a point of emphasis here. You got to be stationary on your screen. You can't use that wide base to set the screen, and obviously the Husky was moving. You see Dickerson's feet are much further apart than his shoulder width, which is a point of emphasis this year. An easy call for the officials.
Huskies won for their last 11 from the field, and now with Noah Dickerson on the bench, the bedrock of this team in this game, it'll be interesting to see how these young Huskies respond.
Watch the lob here. Here it is. That's a play Kansas put in earlier today.
Timeout, Washington.
They put the ball in the short corner and they isolated Azubuike at the rim. Really well done. Bill Self dropped this in today at the shoot-around. That's easy. That's money.
We'll all be on hand. You can also stream it live on the ESPN app. And how does that tie into this game? Well, we are right next door to the College Basketball Hall of Fame at the Sprint Center, where the Kansas Jayhawks are getting a handful from the upstart Washington Huskies. The Huskies lead by 1, 9.5 to go.
Buckets.
Noel.
Yep, bucket getter. Impressive young man. And he's not a great outside shooter. He does most of his damage 15 feet and in. And obviously the Huskies going to stay in that three-point line. Watch the lob again. That's an offensive foul. Yep.
That's number 3 on Azubuike.
Yes, they set it up to put the ball in the short corner, and Azubuike was supposed to seal, but what he did was he pushed his man in the back, anxiously trying to get that second dunk. Good time for a post-up right here.
Dickerson back in the game.
Got to throw it in there.
He's double-teamed. Now he goes one-on-one with Doak. Off the window. Tough shot from Noah Dickerson. He's in double digits and a double-double for the junior.
And he does not mind using the left hand, and I'll tell you, Azubuike almost ran over Dickerson again. Open.
1 for 7 for Devontae Graham, 1 for 6 from 3 from Svi Mikhailiuk.
And watch this move by Dickerson. I'm not sure he even saw the target, but he did use the glass well. And Azubuike's got to be very careful. Look at his head down, but a good finish with the left hand. This is danger zone now for Kansas. We saw the run. There's just no open jump shots. He's open.
That's been the bread and butter all night, but not this time for Vic.
Yeah, Dickerson's going to catch his breath. Really nice orchestration tonight by Mike Hopkins.
Thibault again for 3.
Danger zone, upset alert in Kansas City, Missouri. Bill Self wants a timeout. Call your buddies. Upset alert.
5 3-pointers from Matisse Thibault. 17 points to lead the Huskies, who lead the second-ranked Jayhawks.
Hey, man, how about...
Well, it's not technically a home game for the Kansas Jayhawks. It's not Fog Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, but it's their de facto home floor in Kansas City, where they have won 35 of 44 games but they are on the ropes. And Will Conroy, such a key assistant for Mike Hopkins, doing a great job of re-recruiting a lot of these Washington State kids to stay with the program, and they are proving to be invaluable tonight against the Jayhawks.
And Will Conroy had a cup of coffee in the NBA, was a tremendous Bulldog player for Lorenzo Romar. You cut him open, he bleeds purple and gold, and what a great hire. Mike Hopkins keeping him on. Very well respected in the Seattle-Tacoma basketball community.
Noel, one of those local kids, knocks down the jumper from the baseline.
This kid, I'm telling you, inside of 15, he is murder.
16 for Noel. Here's Vic.
Look at this, look at this, look at this. So long!
Thibault, the steal, and the dunk at the other end. 19 for him. And there's Will Conroy and company.
See, Vic wants to not be a scorer and try to be a facilitator, but he's got, watch him, he gets caught, he throws the helium pass. And you mentioned it early, Rich, there's nobody better suited for the 2-3 zone than this young man, Matisse Thybulle. He's long, he's athletic, he takes up space. Forget the job he's done on the perimeter three-point line tonight. He's been active in those passing lanes.
And Franny, in a week where we're celebrating the V Foundation and raising as much money and awareness for cancer research, Matisse Thybulle has been touched by that terrible disease. His mom, Elizabeth, passed away from leukemia his senior year in high school. He wears the number 4 in honor of his mom. Her favorite number was 4. He's wearing 4. And she passed away the night before his senior game in high school, and he still went and played that game because that was what she wanted to do. And Matisse Thybulle turning into a terrific collegiate college basketball player as well.
Look at Vic, he doesn't know what to do with the basketball. And look how they smother the three-point line.
10 to shoot. With 5 on the clock. Good hands again by the Washington defense.
I'll tell you what, if you want to see an upset, call your friends, because Washington, who did not look great in New York in losses to Providence and Virginia Tech, they have played exceptionally well tonight, and we were witnessing it last night and today at the shoot-around. What a great game plan, particularly defensively, by first-year coach Mike Hopkins with this 2-3 zone. Kansas shoots 44% behind the arc. I'd throw it inside. See if I can pick up another foul on Azubuike.
Dickerson going to work. Outside, Noel. And Azubuike rebounds it. You've probably seen this and been a part of it so many times. Mike Hopkins wasn't happy with the way his team practiced yesterday. He said they were horrible. And then they turn around and put together a performance like this tonight against the number 2 team in the land. Offensive foul.
Look who's on the deck.
And that's Mikhailuk's 3rd.
Take a look at Dickerson. Here comes the drive. Holds his ground, and Mikhailuk, who has not gotten a lot of shots tonight. And I'm going to emphasize this again, right? Repeat your best stuff. 2 for 12 from the three-point line for a Kansas team that makes over 11 a game. And it has not happened by accident.
And every time Kansas has thrown a haymaker, Washington has had a response.
I'm comfortable with this guy with the ball, but you got to give him some room.
It's going to stay Washington ball, 8 on the shot clock. The 6-2 Washington Huskies in their 9th game of the Mike Hopkins era are on the brink of a signature win. That shot way off the mark as the shot clock wound down. Here's Vic in transition. Marcus Garrett. No. One and done for the Jayhawks.
Mike Hopkins loves the fact that Garrett would shoot that ball. And Malik Newman will be back in this game, probably for Garrett.
Crisp
pass.
Good look to Dickerson.
They can't keep David Crisp out of the lane. This is a stunner.
A 12-point Huskies lead. There's the lob that works.
Remember what we said, Vic's got to play 2-on-2 with Azubuike right now. And it's really 2-on-1 because the three-point line is being guarded with 4 defenders.
Down 10, 4.5 to go. It's going to take a Herculean effort for the Jayhawks to come back, especially when the Huskies are knocking down triples. Kansas. 8 for 19 from three-point range for Washington.
Kansas going to a man-to-man play, 4 out with a ball screen, because the zone stuff has not worked. Look at this. I mean, that's like missing a 5-foot putt. Good use of the shot clock right there by David Crisp.
Five on the clock. Dickerson.
That's going in. Oh, it almost. Oh my goodness.
Touched every part of the rim before it fell off. Mikhailuk alone for 3. Got it.
We've seen Kansas do this now. They're going to press. Let's see if they can speed the tempo up a little bit.
Dickerson. And Washington's going to go to the line. 3:01 to go. The Huskies counting down to an epic upset on the road. And the second-ranked Jayhawks are fighting for their lives.
This cheeseburger and shake for $3.99 might be the best deal ever.
Next time I'm buying.
Okay.
Of resurrecting the Huskies. And for Kansas, the next 3 minutes and 1 second, it's a gut check. Kansas has 5 guards on the floor now. They're going to spread it to shoot the 3 or drive it, and then they're going to press. And they only have 4 team fouls, so they're going to have to get to the bonus.
Here's a 3 from Newman from the corner. No. Garrett, the rebound. Oh. Swallowed up by the Washington defense.
What a block shot. Who's that, Green? Little trap now. Quick lineup. Remember, Kansas has got to get to the bonus, and that won't happen.
10 on the shot clock. Mid-post, Dickerson working on Graham. Lost the ball. Got it back. 2 to shoot. Crisp does. And knocks down the triple. Cold-blooded from David Crisp.
Technical foul on David Crisp, but what a play by Noah Dickerson. Noah Dickerson was on the ground. He had the mismatch. I don't know if Dickerson was taunting, but just keep your eye on Dickerson. Crisp doesn't really realize the clock is running down. Then he hoists one. And this is a 2-shot free throw plus the ball.
Graham at the line. And that shows what kind of night it's been for Graham and the Kansas Jayhawks. 24 of 26 from the free throw line coming in, and Devontae Graham misses the technical free throw.
It's one of those nights, Rich. I was in here back in 2008 when UMass came in here on a Saturday afternoon and shocked the Jayhawks. Remember, Kansas has lost 2 of its last 3 in here. TCU in the Big 12 quarterfinals, and then obviously to Oregon in the regional final here last March.
Mikhailuk. And we count down to 2 minutes to go.
There's still 1:59, but what an unbelievable game plan Mike Hopkins had. Remember, early in this game, it looked like Lagerald Vick would get everything in the paint, but the Huskies were determined to not give up the 3-point line.
Well, Vic's got a career high 28, but it has not been enough. The Huskies defense has held Devontae Graham to just 3 points and 1 field goal tonight. And look at the hustle by the freshman Noel. And they call a jump ball. It's going to be Kansas basketball. That's 73-59.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where if you're really alert, you just call timeout right there if you're stuck underneath Kansas's bench. But it's better a jump ball than throwing that ball away.
Kansas has just 1 timeout remaining. Washington 2 timeouts.
Remember, Rich, Kansas still only has 14 fouls, so they're going to have to foul quickly to get Washington into the bonus.
And Mikhailuk, the second leading scorer who has the ball right now, 4 fouls. Blocked by Wright. This Washington Husky team has been fearless all night long. And a foul on Mikhailuk, and he's done for the night. Well, tonight on SportsCenter at night, after the T-Wolves and Clippers, we'll have highlights from the Warriors and Hornets. No Steph Curry, no Draymond Green. How about 22 for Boston, possibly? Celtics in overtime rematch with the Dallas Mavericks. And more on the NFL targets illegal hits. Players are going to sound off on the hard hits that were delivered last weekend.
I'll tell you, new athletic director Jennifer Cohen, she's got to be smiling because she hired Mike Hopkins last March. Mike Hopkins was the heir apparent to Jim Boeheim for 10 years before deciding to come to Seattle. And this is a confidence builder. This is one of those games a young coach has that he gets his team to believe in what he's selling.
Newman continues to struggle from beyond the arc. He'll try it again. And finally knocks it down. But it looks like it's going to be too little too late for the #2 Kansas Jayhawks, one of just 11 teams coming into tonight who remain undefeated on the season. And they are in deep trouble. Down 73-62 with 48.7 left. More great basketball coming up on Saturday, a doubleheader of hoops, starting with #1 Duke taking on Boston College at noon Eastern, and then Indiana and Louisville following that up. Both games are going to be on ESPN and streaming live on the ESPN app. Well, Washington, no rest for the weary. If they finish off this game and pull off the epic upset here in Kansas City, what do they get for their reward? They take on the Gonzaga Bulldogs coming up on their home floor, no less. But still, Gonzaga suffering a tough loss in the Jimmy V Classic to Villanova, but back-to-back tough games for Mike Hopkins and the Washington Huskies.
Well, this is a young guy that grew up in Southern California. How about his high school basketball? Well, not his high school basketball coach. His high school, he was a modern-day guy. Won a state championship there for the legendary Gary McKnight. First of 11 championships Gary's won there. But Syracuse University, you knew him as a basketball player there. Fraternity brother, I understand. I've got to know him all these years. And I said earlier, when you're building a culture, there's nothing better to sell what you're trying to accomplish than a huge win that they have a chance to get here in 48.7 seconds. Got to get it in cleanly. Kansas is going to foul.
Well, friend, last week Miami went up to Minnesota and pulled off an upset road win. And we were saying last weekend that maybe that was the most impressive road win of the year. I think this one trumps it.
Well, #2 in the country, no question.
.40 seconds left. And it's a 1-and-1 situation with Washington going to the free throw line. Well, with this win, Fran, what will teams who will be facing Kansas down the road take away as they try to scout against an obviously very talented Kansas basketball team?
It's hard to say, well, we're going to play zone because, you know, we saw Syracuse and remember, Syracuse had some success early in that game, and then Kansas figured it out. You can't necessarily change what you do well. Mike Hopkins has lived, breathed, and eaten this zone for 25 years, and tonight it was just a spectacular game plan. They just took away the three-point line.
Newman, back-to-back threes. Well, how about Devontae Graham? This is a home away from home for the Jayhawks, but it's a house of horrors the last couple for Devontae Graham. His last 2 games inside the Sprint Center, 3 points against Oregon in the Elite 8 game, and 3 points tonight against the Washington Huskies. And Mike Hopkins has his signature win in his opening campaign for the Washington Huskies. 22 years as an assistant under Jim Boeheim, and he accomplished tonight what Jim Boeheim and the Syracuse Orange weren't able to do last Saturday in Miami. Upset the Kansas Jayhawks. 74-65 is the final. Matisse Thybulle leads the way with 19. Jalen Noel with 17. Noah Dickerson a double-double with 13 points and 14 rebounds. The biggest win of the season for the Huskies as they improve to 7-2, and the Jayhawks fall from the ranks of the unbeaten. They are now 7-1. For Fran Fraschilla and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Thanks for watching. Good night from the Sprint Center in Kansas City. An epic upset as the #2 Jayhawks go down to the Washington Huskies 74-65. Let's send it over to SportsCenter.